especially if you're like in one of these professions where it's time demanding. But the reality is the time isn't going to change. Your mindset has to change, and you just got to move differently. You got to make some sacrifices, man.
Teach me something, Uncle Money.
Welcome very much to another episode of Practice Prosperity. We have a CPA with us. And like I said, anytime, especially during this season, we can get a CPA, it's a special moment. And every business owner has, probably a million questions when it comes to taxes. And we're going to go into taxes, but also a little bit on how he grew his practice, because similar to the practices that we manage, he has to go through the same thing. So welcome very much, Darion Wiggs.
Hey, yes, thanks for having me.
Now, if you don't mind, kind of introduce yourself, your firm, and kind of the clients that you serve.
Yeah, so I guess the starters for me, as mentioned, my name is Darion. I've been a CPA now for a little over 4 years from the south suburbs of Chicago. So that's where I pretty much spent most of my life, moved around a lot. Excuse me. So Chicago, I'll claim, Minnesota, I'll claim, but my heart and my roots and my family is mostly on the south suburbs of Chicago. From there, went on to the University of Illinois. So went there, studied accounting, got a bachelor's degree there, got a master's degree there, and also had a concentration in real estate. So I've been doing accounting for a long time now. Started off at a young age. After that, worked in corporate America. Come from the south suburbs of Chicago. I literally thought I landed my dream job. So I started in corporate America as an auditor and quickly realized that I was not happy and that's not something I wanted to do in the long run. So I knew I wanted to do something that involved me being more involved in our community. I wanted to teach, so I was about to do Teach for America, which would allow me to take a 2-year break from corporate and then go out to teach. But then the pandemic happened, so I was kind of stuck. But that's when I discovered, well, I know one thing I'm gonna have to do regardless is taxes, because when you're an accountant, a CPA, you get all those tax-related questions during tax season. And the truth is, they don't teach you how to do taxes while you've been an accountant student or as a CPA. So I had to take some time off and learn how to do it. And I realized that, hey, this is something I can do. So I started off doing taxes. And then I realized that working with small business owners was the best way in the world for me to accomplish both worlds, in a sense where I can put my accounting degree to use, I can put my people skills to use, but most importantly, I can have a direct impact on other small business owners. So today, as of October 20th, 2020, I launched Wiggs CPA Tax and Accounting. We do taxes during tax time, but we really specialize in working with a small group of business owners. We work with anybody who provide a service to the community. Our goal is to provide a service to you. So we handle your bookkeeping, your tax planning, your tax prep, your payroll. We do all the accounting, everything you need on the accounting side of things for your business so you can focus on scaling and growing your business. So that's pretty much what we do today. I love it. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I'm don't plan on switching it up anytime soon.
I like it. I like it. Now, one of my personal gripes with colleges is that, they don't really teach you things that you can work on your own. Why do you believe you have an accounting degree? I have an accounting degree. I actually worked in internal audit as well, but we never learned how to do taxes. Do you have like an idea on why maybe they may have skipped that type of knowledge? Like, what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, I feel like, and we're gonna take it there early in this early today. They like kind of brush over like corporate taxes or like doing taxes for McDonald's, or they train you how to be an employee or auditor at these larger corporations, because that's the main focus for these larger corporations, right? And I'm gonna teach you about your personal finances, how to do your individual taxes. They're like, hey, if you want to learn how to do it, you pick it up along the way. But to answer your question, why do I think they skipped over it? Well, I always say, why would the lion teach his prey on how to get away? Like they need us as accountants. And when you become a CPA, you're a certified public accountant, right? That's for public accounting firms, not for small businesses, individual taxes. So same thing with financial literacy. I think they skip over it too as well, assuming that's something you'll pick up and learn on your own. But yeah, I always thought that was interesting how like nobody ever sat down and went over personal taxes with us in accounting classes or how to invest for ourselves. So if we didn't know it, if we didn't get taught it as CPAs, CFPs, right? Then how do you expect the carpenters to know it in our communities? How do you expect the dentists to know it? So once I figured out that, I was like, oh, there's an area of need right here. So I spent a ton of time learning about it before I started my own business. That's why I'm in the position I am today. But I love how you pointed it out. Like they don't teach you that all in school. And if I could change it, I would, but it's a bigger problem than me.
So, like you said, the pandemic hit and you had to make a decision.
Yep.
What were the emotions going on when you decided to step out on your own to say, hang your shingle and say, I'm open for business? Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah. Well, definitely thought it was the dumbest idea in the world. It's like, hey man, you did all this work. You got a full ride to college. You work at the third largest accounting firm in the world. You got a good trajectory. You're young. Why are you leaving your job? So in my head, it was the dumbest thing to do.
Yeah.
But however, just emotions were very high at that point in life. You know, during the pandemic, not just me, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people lost people close to them. So my logic was I'm young, I got my CPA license, I have a good job, I have a stable career path. Worst case scenario, I gotta go back. Worst case scenario, this don't work out and I gotta go get six figures at some corporate job and work 60, 70, 80 hours. That was my worst case. So I wasn't necessarily too afraid to do it. Definitely something I thought and debated about because I'm like, you got it all. So for me, emotions were definitely high, so high that I didn't tell anybody within my family. I want to say I quit my job on October 20th, 2020. Nobody knew I quit my job until October 2022, until I actually launched my firm. So when I told them a few weeks before I actually launched it, it was like, you're kidding me. I'm like, yeah. And then I launched it and they saw it. But emotions were definitely high. It wasn't an easy decision, but like I said, I was young. I didn't have anything to lose. And I'm one of those people I want to follow my gut. And that's what I did. So here we are.
So similar to you, like, when you grew up in the communities that we grew up in, you went to school, had your degree. A lot of people have a lot of pride in what you do as far as, you're Darion, the accountant at this big accounting firm. Now that you go into something that's they can't lean on, kind of speak to how does your social relationships, especially initially, change because you don't have that big title at that big job that everybody can beat their chest about.
Yeah, that part. I guess for me, so you're saying more so along the lines like everybody has those titles, went to college, and moving up in the rankings, and I don't necessarily have that. Is that what you kind of
I
like?
would say more for as like your personal relationship versus the kind of
Yeah.
professional scenarios.
Yeah, I guess from a personal side, and that didn't really impact me too much. Mostly because I think I made it very clear to my circle and my friends, or just to my personal relationships with my community, is that the most important thing I value is time.
Mm.
So I think just kind of being able to say, hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing just as good as I would have been doing in corporate, but I'm in control of my time, which I think personally is my most important and best asset. So I never really had those kind of thoughts or anything like that. Maybe it'll change down the road as other folks who did stick with the traditional route that I'm very close with, like stick with it. But like as of now, like I haven't really given that part too much thought.
So you hang your shingle, and the next step is, I have to gain clients. I have to find people who are willing to trust me. And our finance business is big on trust. How did you think about that, and how did you gain your first clients?
Yep. So I thought about it. Well, one, a lot of people think I started my business and I just hit the ground running. Like I started my business and I was hitting huge goals in the first 2, 3 days. That's what it looks like on paper. But before I even launched my business, I was living in the house while I was renovating it in a
Mhm.
sense where I started my LLC August of 2021. I didn't mention that my business didn't officially get launched until October 2022. So
Mhm.
before I even launched my business, I spent the whole year. All right, this is what I want my business to look like. Let me spend 6 months learning about taxes. Let me spend 3 months learning about payroll. Let me spend the other 3 months learning about bookkeeping. And I did free work outside of the contract, the job I had at a tax firm. I did so many free consultation calls, just giving back, giving back, giving back to the point where it's funny. Like few days before I launched my business, I was on the phone with a guy I'll never forget. He was like, "What's your fee?" I was like, "I don't have a fee." He was like, "Well, you need a fee. Like, can I buy you lunch? Can I take you out? Can I?" And I was, so that's when it hit me where I was like, "Oh yeah, I've done enough of these." So for me to gain that trust is before I even launched my business, I made myself viewed as a valuable resource. I
Mhm.
never had an Instagram. I never had a Twitter in my entire first 25 years of my life. So I don't even care about social media. But before I even launched my business, every Tuesday for the first year before I went public, I posted a tax tip every single Tuesday for free. Didn't mention I had a firm, and I just try to give as much value as possible. And once, and especially in our industry, you develop that trust and you start giving it value, right? Enough free value, like people are going to want more. So for me, I was just being consistent, started getting more involved in the community, started branding myself. So when I did launch my firm, it was the perfect time because it was October before tax season, and it exploded right away because, like I said, I was living in a house while renovating it, and I was working on my dreams and my goals in the background and still just kind of giving value at the same time. So that's the approach I took.
I like that. Working on the house, living in the house while you're innovating. Some people say it's like building the parachute after you jumped out of the plane.
Yeah.
Now,
Wasn't that risky?
yeah.
Look.
So give some tough love here. Like, let's talk to somebody who wants to go out on their own, and they say, I don't have time to both work my job and build the house that I'm living in. Like, what do you say to that person to say there's not enough hours in the day?
Yeah, well, that was me. Shoot, working in corporate America, especially a big four accounting firm, I had to be working from 7, 8 in the morning to 10 p.m. at times, right? But you got to make time. So I enrolled in Commute University. Anytime I was in a car, I was listening to a podcast. Anytime I was having a lunch break, I was on YouTube. Anytime I was having dinner, I lived alone, I was watching videos and eating. I was multitasking. If you really want to do it, you're going to lock in for it, right? The weekends, even now, I'm trying to have a life during tax time. I get up at 5:45 now, and the first 2-3 hours of the day is for me, right? What am I learning about? Another business idea, real estate, studying. So it's very hard, especially if you're like in one of these professions where it's time demanding. But the reality is the time isn't going to change. Your mindset has to change, and you just got to move differently. You got to make some sacrifices. You may have to say no on Friday night. May have to say no on Saturday night. I do it all the time. But yeah, I guess tough love on that is, yeah, I get it. But like if you really want it, you're gonna make time for it. Same thing with relationships in life, right? We all busy, still got a partner and do what we do, but like you got to make time for it, like especially as an adult, right? Let's take it there. Like you got to make time for it. It's hard though. It's easier said than done. But the people that I've known that's been really driven and they see what the outcome could be, that usually is the people who lock in on it.
I like that. I like that. What is your biggest difference? So you've lived the employee life. Now you're the business owner. What is the difference in your mind? Like what is kind of like your internal expectations? Like what is the drive different? Like what is the difference between an employee versus a business owner?
Yeah, and that changes all the time, right? So I guess as an employee, it was more so I'm just showing up, I'm doing my job, I'm going home. Cool. That's pretty much it. Business owner, I show up, I do my job, but the job is never done. It's never done. This is an ongoing process. After this, I will probably be up for 2 more hours just reading and doing research, or most importantly, planning, right? So I guess the difference in the mindset there is like my business is my life. Not saying I work all the time and every day, all day, but like this is my baby. I don't have any kids. This is one of the most important things to me. And when you're a business owner, you're going to do everything in your power to make it the best thing possible, right? So when you're a business owner, your mind is always going in the early stages. It took a minute. I was up at night just thinking. But like now I got it more under control where I will have an idea, got a million sticky notes in front of me. I'll write it down and I execute it. But I guess to answer that question more detail is I really love being a business owner. I never thought I would be in this position, but I treat it as a big accounting kind of group project in a sense, but like it has no direction in a sense. Like when you have your own business, any ideas you have, anything you want to implement, like you are in a ability, in a position to do it. So I enjoy it as an employee. Like I wasn't doing something that I was necessarily passionate about, and I knew it. I kind of settled in a sense and went the route where I'll figure it out. But here, like I get to pick who I want to work with. I get to pick what I want to do in terms of implementation towards my vision. Like you're in full control as a business owner, and I love it.
I like it. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So you mentioned something earlier. You say you get up at 5 a.m.
5:45.
5:45. So don't forget the 45.
Yeah. And this is during tax time, but I'm listening.
And so explain why he does. I do that as well. I think that's so important, but I don't think business owner really talk about, why that is. So why get up so early, knowing that you're going to work still to 10 p.m.? Like, what does that do for you?
Yeah, I mean, Same thing you talked about. When you got busy individuals and they want to start a business, but they don't have time, you got to make time, right? First 2 hours of the day is for me.
Mm.
Even people with W-2 jobs and they have jobs where a lot of people don't do that. My first 2 hours of the day is what Darion want to do. I want to read. I want to meditate. I want to pray. I want to be in the gym for 60 minutes, 70 minutes, 80 minutes, 90 minutes. I don't want to listen to no phone calls, no texts. I do it because one, I can get a lot done before 9 o'clock hit and I'm getting a bunch of people calling me. But I do it more so during tax time and during seasons where I have to lock in because it forces me to put myself in a position to one, make sure I'm taking care of myself, but at the same time, just giving me the time to do everything I need to do. So for me, like tax time, I do it mostly because like in this industry, especially financial planning, accounting, like there's periods of times where you're so busy that you won't have time for yourself. So for me, I believe that in order to be mentally strong, I also need to be physically strong. So I get up early and that's my me time for at least 2 hours a day. And then at night, I try to do the same thing. But that's why I do it.
No, I like that. Yeah, I feel like, especially, as relatively young men, we still have that testosterone that has to go somewhere. So if you get that out in the day, I can sit down and focus and crunch those numbers pretty much all through the night. So
Exactly.
you work with business owners. So what are some things that you see business owners, let's say the top 3 things business owners need to focus on when they think about their taxes?
Yep. So when I think about it, is one, you got to spend time to understand the rules of taxes. I always say that when we think about taxes, we view it negatively for the most part because it's always, hey, I owe Uncle Sam money, right? But I always tell people you got to understand the rules. Rule number one is that you got to join a winning team. You got to realize at the moment you're a business owner, the tax code is made for business owners and investors. It's not 70,000 plus pages teach you how to pay taxes. If you read it and pay attention, it's 70,000 plus pages teach you how to legally avoid taxes. So that understand the rules, right? Join the winning team. And the other ones is just for taxes. I would say you gotta keep up with it. You got to find either you're going to find time to keep up with the tax changes, or most importantly, you'll hire like a qualified tax professional or a CPA in your corner because you're going to need it. Because the reality is not paying taxes is cool. And you really don't have a tax problem in the early stages of your business. But as you start making money, taxes is a problem, right? You'll look up, you're paying 30, 40% of your income to taxes. And as a business owner, you can control that. So I tell people in the early stages, definitely just want to have some type of understanding of what a write-off is, understand the rules of taxes, and then get you a qualified tax professional, somebody that you could trust that can help. So that's how we look at taxes, is just know that it's a secret weapon, As a business owner, we don't pay taxes on what we bring in the door. We pay taxes on what's left after all of our ordinary and necessary expenses to operate our business. So I tell my clients is if you plan it out the right way, there won't be anything left to pay taxes on. So that's the goal.
No, I think that's good. Like really focus on limiting tax. Now, what are let's talk about documentation needs. And I know every business is going to be different, but what are some of the things that you feel like business owners are missing as far as documentation, or it's not complete? What have you seen in your practice?
Yeah, so missing one, business plans. That's always missing. I mean, it's one thing to like, hey, I want to start a dog sitting business, but like you need to sit down and come up with the actual logistics behind it. So when I talk to clients, I try to understand their vision and what they want to do within their business. And it's hard at times because they don't know, right? So that understanding your structure, and just bookkeeping, always a problem. I didn't realize until the last couple of months where a majority of the people I work with or initially work with don't have separate bank accounts for their business, don't have separate credit cards. So that creates not only a headache when it's time to do your taxes, but a lot of business owners don't actually know the performance of how well their business are doing because they don't have the numbers to do it. So that's one thing I always remind clients that, hey, you got these LLCs and S Corps and C Corps, but if you're commingling funds, then you don't have that limited liability protection that you think you have by having an LLC. So if you're going to do it the right way. So that's one thing, bookkeeping, just reminding people that not only do you need that for audit protection, right? Keep receipts for at least 3 years, but you need to get in the habit of separating business and personal expenses. So we as advisors, right? You as a planner, me as your accountant, I can tell you based on your net income, these are the strategies we can implement. Based on your net income, hey, you could talk to Randall. He could tell you different strategies for your retirement, your life insurance, but we can't advise you if you can't give us the accurate numbers. So that's probably the biggest thing there.
And I know for you, we love being more proactive than
Yeah.
reactive. Kind of speak on what tax planning is and what how do you go about it with your clients?
Yep. I always tell people it's two different tax seasons. You got tax prep season. That's January, February, March, April. You give me your W-2s, you give me your 1099s, I'll tell you what you owe. But then there's tax planning season. The wealthiest individuals, the people who pay the least amount of taxes, they understand that tax planning season is the important time. That's the entire year. Most importantly, April through December, but that's when we actually can sit down and be like, this is what you owed last year. Based on your income projections for this year, this is your projected net income. Now, these are the tax strategies tailored to your individual situation that we can implement. It's one thing here on the internet, hey, buy a car, set up a SEF IRA, pay your children, but there's paper trails that come into this stuff. There's a process that it takes time. So tax planning is more so just sitting down with a client, evaluating their situation. And then what we do is we tell you what to do, but then we hold your hand throughout the process, make sure all the legal documents are taken care of, checking in on you 2, 3, 4 times a month. And we act as an outsourced accounting team, like an extended part of your team, right? Now you got a CPA full time in a sense. So tax planning is super crucial. A lot of people just don't know about it, but for those who do know about it and they want to proactively plan for taxes throughout the year, it's the way to go. The last note on that, a lot of people, especially now, it's 2025, going to come to me in February, be like, hey, how can I reduce my 2024 tax bill? And the reality is 2024 is old. Like, it's only that many strategies I can use 2 days before your taxes are due versus the ones I can implement in the summer before your tax returns are actually due. So tax planning is crucial, but it's our role and our job, I guess now, since the school is going to do it, to just educate everybody about the importance of tax planning and financial planning.
One of the hardest things for all business owner is figuring out how much do I charge. How did you think about how you charged in this industry? Like what was your process as far as like what you started, where you are now? How did you think about pricing your business?
Yep, Chat GPT. No, I'm just playing. Look. It plays a role. It definitely plays a role. When I first started, I used the pricing model similar to the firm that I worked with. And then I basically started surrounding myself around a bunch of other accountants. I go to conferences accounting conferences with other CPAs, EAs, business owners who've been doing this for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And we talk about pricing, right? We're not competing. We're just trying to figure out, hey, what are you charging? What are you charging? And I realized that I was one of few CPAs in there, and I'm in one of the largest cities in the whole country, but I was charging the least amount. And I was like, let me stop adjusting my price for my community, aka the small amount of people I know. Like, I had to realize, hey, I'm a CPA, I'm in Chicago, I'm adding a lot of value. Like, I've saved people $200,000 in taxes, only charged them $2,000 because I didn't know what I was doing from a pricing standpoint. So it takes time, but my advice is you have to speak to others within your industry, do some research, and you got to get comfortable with charging. Because for me, even with taxes, side story, when I first started my business and some of those tax fees got up $600, $700, $800, and I had to call my mentor. I still got the voice note. I was like, I feel bad. I'm charging this person $800. And he was like, okay. He's like, think about it from this way. You're not charging them $800 for the amount of time it's going to take you to do his tax returns. You're taxing him for the 5 years you spent at a 4-year university, getting your master's degree, for the hundreds and hundreds of hours you spent taking the CPA exam. And think about it this way, the amount of money you're going to save them. So after that, and then once I got comfortable with spending money on myself, I've spent over $10,000 for a course 2 times in my life. So I'm not afraid to charge somebody $1,000 or $800 or even $1,500 a month because I know I've invested that in myself and I know they're going to get their rate of return. So it takes time to get pricing down pat. But if you're starting from scratch, I would say speak with other accountants or other people within your industry. And remember that charging the bottom or the average isn't always the best thing to do. But right now, my hourly rate is higher than a lot of accountants I know. It's as a premium service, and I'm gonna give you premium, exceptional services in return. But sometimes, you got to step out of your comfort zone and do it. And it took me a minute, but that's where I'm at now.
Like that, yeah, I agree. Like I feel like I provide a white glove service, hand holding. You call me, I return the call. There's a text. You get a text in a certain time. You're not going to get that everywhere, but that does come with a cost, which is important. You mentioned, you go to conferences, you network with other accountants. What is your kind of networking strategy or staying in the strategy? Like, what conference do you go to? How do you meet with these, I guess, more mature accountants or accountants on your same level? Like, how do you think about those things?
Yeah. So as far as me with networking, in the early stage of my business, you have to get out there, right? I did cold calls. I went to networking events, and I was really trying to promote my services. But now it's at the point, excuse me, where I have a good network. So when I go to networking events, and what I'm focusing on now in this phase of my life is building relationships. I am strong on building relationships. I've gone to 3 networking events in the past. I haven't even brought a card with me. Not everybody should do this, but as my approach, it's more so relationship based. So I go to networking events and conferences to build relationships. And most importantly, I'm still in the early phases, I would say, of my adult life and my business, where I go to these conferences to learn. These people are on stage for a reason. I'm coming here, I'm taking detailed notes. And if I'm going to an accounting conference and they're speaking about accounting topics, not only am I looking at the content they're talking about so I can share with my clients, but I'm looking at their presentation style, their PowerPoints. I'm looking at everything. And I try to find a couple people that I vibe with that I can relate to. And then within these conferences, so to answer your question, how do I find them? One, I go to Eventbrite. One, I just reach out to other people via social media and figure it out. But since my business is 100% virtual, most of my clients aren't even in Illinois where I live, right? They're all over the country because I spend time being in Atlanta for a week. I go to Miami for a week. I'll go to Phoenix for a week. I'll go to Colorado for a week, Dallas, all these other places so that I can strategically plant a seed in everywhere because all you need is one good relationship. So for me, I do that. And back at home, I try to force myself to go to one networking event a week. But when it's busier times, probably like 2 to 3 a month. But I try to get out there as much as possible. And my goal essentially is just to build relationships, strategic relationships too, as well, where we both can benefit. But most importantly, I want to build a relationship with other people, especially when you like an entrepreneur, you're in the early stages. Like 99% of my friends, probably 95, are like still in corporate America. So I went through a phase when I started my business where I feel like I was on an island. So there's other people being entrepreneur, but those who's like able to hit the ground running and do well so fast, like that even puts you in a smaller kind of bubble. So I got my 2 or 3 people now. Shout out to them, but like it took a minute. So I've found my people now 2 years in, but like it took a minute. But those networking events definitely puts you in the right rooms with the right people so you can learn the right things to scale and grow your business, basically.
No, I think that's cool. I think so. I think you hinted at this, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. So when you visit a city,
Yep.
let's say you're coming to Atlanta, like you're probably not just there to go to the hookah bars, go to the lounges. Like, how strategic are you when you visit these cities, especially if you're trying to drum up business and relationships?
Yeah, bro. You definitely won't catch me at the Uka bar. I got asthma. But outside of that, when I'm in a new city, I guess the best way to put it, let's say every time I'm in Atlanta is for a conference. Every single time. Invest Fest, the Melanin Money event for the weekend. And what I do is not only am I trying to get a tax write-off, right? We could talk about that too as well. But I take a day to kind of explore the city, walk around, talk to strangers, get to know people, go to some of their museums, I go to football games, basketball, and just kind of talk to people there. And at the event, I'm mingling with people too as well. And then if you think about it, most of these conferences, the first 2, 3 nights, there's like a networking mixer. So I purposely buy the VIP tickets to most things. I always get the highest package, but I'm getting one of those VIP packages because now you have access to like-minded people who are willing to spend an extra couple $100s here. So instead of having to go to the hookah bar or out, clubbing or something on a Thursday, Friday night, I'm at the VIP networking event with 50 to 100 people who are there to network and build relationships too as well. So that's pretty much my approach every single time, is just going there open-minded. I go to most of these by myself, so I'm getting used to it where I just kind of go up to somebody and just introduce myself, get to know them, and then the conversation just starts there. But that's my approach typically at networking events, just to just be a butterfly, social butterfly in the sense of get to know as many people as possible.
No, yeah, I think you hit on something. Like, you get what you pay for.
Yep.
And you go to these conferences and you're in general admissions, you get general admission results. But if you do pay a slight premium, you kind of understand people who also want to pay a premium for a premium result as well. So I think that's big.
Yeah, it's big. And this is not me saying I go do it every time. The last conference I went to 2 years ago, I got VIP and I met 3 or 4 people there, made a group chat afterwards. We talked probably 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Wow.
And this year we all decided to do general admission. We're gonna sit in the back this time. We have our circle. Let's sit back here so we can move around and talk about these different activities and stuff. So there's pros and cons, but like if you're going to an event by yourself, Miami or Vegas or something like, yeah, definitely don't be afraid to get that VIP ticket because, like you said, you get what you pay for, and you got to be in the rooms with these right people. Sometimes, that my mentor always say, get in a room. Like, get in a room. Like, what is it costing you not being in a room? You got to think about it that way. So, if that ticket's a few extra $100, not only will you be a little closer to the stage, but you'll be around people who also most likely in your tax bracket, most importantly, in your mental tax bracket, in a sense where you can have those high-level conversations with them and get the network. So that's why I do it.
Like that. So you deal with business owners, and like you said, they're just trying to make it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
Some are commingling funds. The last thing usually on their mind is retirement plan.
Okay.
How do you advise them, if you advise them at all, to prepare? Like, what type of accounts do you recommend for a small business owner preparing for retirement?
Yeah, that's a great question. Commingling funds sound like illegal the way you just said it. It's like, dang, I need to change that up. But to answer your question, how do I like prepare clients for retirement and advise them on them? Well, first, I kind of keep it realistic because the truth is, a lot of business owners in the early stages of their business, retirement is the last thing they're thinking about, right? You got so many different expenses within the business. You got to pay rent. A lot of people got kids. Like, you got to take care of yourself. So what I'm noticing after 2, 3, 4 years into your business, once we got the taxes figured out, your entity restructuring, now it's like, all right, let's talk about retirement. Like, what's the end goal here? We met your 1 year goal, your 3 year goal, your 5 year goal. Like, all right, now let's start thinking big. Like, how much money you need to leave behind for your family? How much can you afford to save this month? So now we start having those conversations. I don't necessarily get to the nitty gritty and start telling them where to invest and put the money. I send them over to a financial planner like yourself and say, hey, Devin has an extra 10K a month. He wants to retire by this age. He has kids, and I'll let you do the rest, right? But I definitely add that in there because not only do we talk about taxes with our clients, that's one thing. But once you understand taxes, what's left, right? Now we're talking about different wealth building strategies. And it's beautiful in a sense where a lot of those retirement strategies, life insurance, building wealth through stocks, like it impacts your tax situation at the same time. So a lot of those strategies, you may feel like, oh, wow, I just put up $70,000 for my retirement account, right? It's 2025, I just maxed out myself. Good. Now you got a $70,000 tax deduction on your tax return, and now you're building wealth a lot faster than the average American, and you can invest that money into different assets, right? So I advise it, but I also just keep in track of what my client can afford to invest, but investing is always a priority. HSAs, individual retirement accounts, but that's always the goal.
Now, one thing that's hard is keeping track of those retirement statements for the tax purposes.
Yeah.
Like, how do you help your clients track those things down, remind them that they exist? Like, what is that process like for you? Because I work with some accountants, and that's something they could miss and or they have to refile because of those things.
Yeah, my onboarding process, I make sure I pick their brains from every aspect to figure that out. Another backup, especially if somebody's coming to me, let's say now in 2025, saying, hey, I didn't file for 2022. I got stocks. I'll have them pull their IRS transcript so I can get a snapshot view of everything the IRS knows they receive, right? Because they get a copy of those brokerage forms and 1099s first. So I do a cross reference, but it's hard to keep up with it. Luckily, knock on wood, it hasn't happened to me too many times. But with my core set of clients, those 10 to 15, they meet with one of the advisors on my team initially. So now it's like, if you do have a brokerage account, if you do have a retirement account, like I know the person you're doing it with, so I can just call them like, all right, this didn't make sense. What's going on? And they can tell me what's going on within their financial situation. So it's hard to keep up with. But luckily, since we're doing the tax planning, bookkeeping, and payroll in the tax prep, it's a lot easier for us to monitor those things because we're handling all the financial aspects of our business owners versus just only prepping the taxes.
That makes sense. That's that. Yeah, and yeah, it is a lot, a whole
Mhm.
lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
So, where do you see your business going? Like in the future, do you want to have accountants under you? Do you want to stay a very, niche firm that really provides high level service? What does tomorrow hold for you?
Yep. So I want to put every single H&R Block out of business. Uh, and then I woke up. Definitely not the plan. I don't want to take that route. So that's the ongoing battle. When I first started my business, I was like, hey, I just want to work to 10 to 15 people, monthly retainer, do that bookkeeping, tax planning, tax prep, done. Cool. I did that last month and I was like, I'm only 2 years in. I can't stop. Like, hold on, something ain't right. That was how it was at first. But to answer your question, that is something that's changing every single year. My answer today may change, but for me, like I said, the most important thing I value is my time. So right now, not being married, not having kids is beautiful in a sense where all my time is mine. I'm well aware in the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, it won't be like that, right? So right now, I want to grow my business as big as possible with the time I have. And then once I get closer to that phase in life, I can kind of figure out a way to remove myself from the business so it can operate without me. That's the goal, right? That's the vision. Everybody has a plan. But for me right now, I do want to have a small team of tax preparers up under me, maybe 2 to 3 people, someone managing the bookkeeping department, and then also someone helping kind of on the sales team. So I do want a team of maybe 3 to 5 people. I plan on bringing on 2 to 3 additional people right now, once after tax season is over. But I do want to keep the firm very small. Tax prep, still figuring out who I want to work with, but I know overall it's going to be a firm that specializes in working with business owners and offering those tax planning services, right? Those one-on-one conversations. Because the reality is a lot of accounting firms grow so fast. So you'll be speaking with the CPA the first year or two, and then 3, 4, 5 years down the road, the CPA don't even exist no more. And what happens is a lot of business owners grow too fast and they don't have the systems for the quality of services to grow with it, right? So then now you're getting bad reviews. Now your favorite clients is leaving. So because I know that, I'm moving correctly, not quickly. So I'm taking my precious time to grow my business, and we'll see where it goes. But right now, definitely want to keep it on the smaller side, not trying to become an H&R TurboTax, but it's really going to be a firm that specializes with working with small business owners and providing those accounting services to them, because I see the value it adds. And I love putting smiles on other people's faces, especially if I'm saving them 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 in taxes every single year.
So me and you have a background in audit, and you mentioned some, documenting those policies and procedures, being able to do a repeatable process.
Yep.
Speak on that aspect from just a general business owner. Like, why is it important to document, have those things listed out, so if you bring on an employee, they can provide you at least close to the same level of service? What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, best advice I got from a realtor within my network was, I was like, hey, I'm starting my own business in a week. What do you think I should do? And she looked at me and she said, systems. I was like,
Mm.
that's it? Like, that's it? And I was like, oh, I get it. Systems. And the reason why systems are so important because a lot of people skip it. I spent the whole summer on creating systems. I spent the last 2 months on creating systems. And you think when you start a business, like, and you create these goals, that's going to happen overnight. Like sometimes these systems and procedures and open up a new line of service, it takes months and sometimes even years. The services I provide now was my goal year one, day one. It took me 2 years to even announce it to the public. So it takes time, but systems are important just as a general level. Because if you're trying to scale and grow your business, you need to have those systems. Since day one of my business, I can't pull my screen up, but I have documented every single thing that I do. The whole tax prep, or you say the customer experience or journey from the first initial call, right? Before then, right? But the first initial call, the next steps of following up, the next steps were on board, and like everything that's supposed to go on during that and within our CRMs, like it's all documented with the thought that someday I'm not going to be doing this. I want to be able to pass this over to the next person in line, and they got a map, a roadmap already set up for them. So systems super important. It's time consuming, but as business owners, especially as you start growing, I'm learning that I need to spend more time on sales, operations, and systems versus the technical work, right? So systems is super crucial if you want to grow. And a lot of people skip that part. That's why the quality of service goes down so quickly once you bring on 2, 3, 4 people, right? Because then they're going to be strangers within your business versus somebody who's well documented the entire process, the mission, the core values, and everything. It makes it a lot easier. So that's why I do it. It wasn't at first because I was going to just, do the business by myself and crank it out because I'm young. But now understand there's no point in having a business if I'm going to do all this by myself. So I'm really strong on systems and I take my time with them.
I think that's important. I think, and I don't know, because I'm a big documenter because of probably my audit background. You find gaps once you document.
Yep.
It's like I thought I was doing that step, but I'm probably not doing it as well as maybe I had wanted to. So I think that's a big one. Just document everything.
Okay.
Now, do you keep? How do you document? I have a 100-page Word document that is actively growing. How is your documentation process?
Yeah, it's about 100 pages within different folders. So I document it that way. And then if it's something that I'm like, okay, I've documented this 1,000 times and I actually just don't have the time to do it no more, I record a video. I got a whole gallery of like Zoom and Loom trainings. So it's like my assistant, she's seen me do it a couple of times. I'm like, all right, it's time for you to do it. I've been doing this 2 years now. You can do it. So it's a lot of Word documents, organized cleanly, and there's a lot of videos, but that's the way to do it. So those are my two go-to. And another thing I started implementing is, even though you got systems, you got to be open to changing them. Every time I do something or every few months, I take a step back and I think about, okay, how can I make this system more efficient? What changes can I make? Because you can always make it better. Whether that's, all right, cool, I'm going to follow up a little bit quicker. I'm going to review this document when I first get it, or I'm going to add in this action step because my clients have made it very clear based on the surveys that this is something they want. Not something I wanted to do, but they want. You got to remember at the end of the day, you're providing a service to them and you got to keep their needs and wants first. So it's an ongoing process, but yeah, systems got to have them.
I think that's big because even if you go to a conference, learn this amazing thing that you want to add to your business, where do you add it? What does that sit in your process? And once you have the system documented, that incremental, which I think is what true business is, just regular incremental improvement year after year. So I think that's good. Yeah. Now, how you say you work with the group, some financial planners, like how do you think financial planners can serve business owners better? Like, what have you seen some opportunities that are out there?
Opportunities for financial planners. I would say one, you all just having a general understanding of taxes too as well. Obviously, I would say a lot in my experience, right? I've dealt with a lot of financial planners, especially like firms like Northwestern Mutual, where it's like anybody can do it. Initially, they're not going to survive. It's a high turnover in that industry because not a lot of people can make it as long as you. But just knowing that, all right, I'm going to tell this person about life insurance and stocks and investing. Let me, as a financial advisor, a financial planner, have at least a general understanding of what a tax return looks like, how it works, and have an understanding of the tax strategy. So, and the same thing, vice versa, with us CPAs who do taxes, like, got to understand your industry too as well. But if you're talking about from a CPA to like a financial planning perspective, I would say just making sure that not just the owner, but like the people that's working up under you too as well, take the time allocated towards learning about taxes because they go hand in hand, right? So you can create some powerful strategies if you know both ends of the straw. So I think that'd be something that'll work out.
Yeah, I agree with the powerful strategies. And I also think that there can be some missteps that happen if you can't think through how an investment strategy ends up on a tax return. I think that's
exactly
big. That's big.
Yeah, that's why any of my referrals to the planners I work with, we try to meet now every few months, every quarter, to talk about different strategies before we implement them. That case, we're not setting up retirement accounts for somebody who said they ran payroll, but they didn't run payroll. So now it's like we got to amend everything that was done. We got to pay a 6% excess penalty. Like it creates a headache if the two people that's working on your financial overall plan isn't on the same side. So definitely an ongoing conversation. But yeah, I think the taxes part of it and just, continuing to learn. Same thing on this end, right? Gotta keep learning because as we both know, the entire tax law and changes we know may change by the end of this year. So just knowing and understanding and keeping up to date with it. Not saying you need to study politics or anything, but more so just once a tax law is official, like at least have a general understanding of it so you can explain it to your clients or understand how their financial plan would essentially, be impacted because of it.
For business owners, how would you advise them stay up to date on the taxes that affect them? Is that possible? Should we always hire a professional? Is there some we should be reading on a regular basis?
Yep. For starters, for business owners who trying to keep up to date, follow Wiggs CPA on all social media. And the reason why I say that shameless plug is because last night I just hosted a 90-minute webinar about tax updates. In the summer, I'm probably gonna do 2, 3 free webinars, not some literally just free webinars. Say, hey, this is what I heard, this is what I know about, this is how it's gonna impact your business. So I highly recommend for you. You got social media, you don't, but like if you do got social media, stop following all these NBA athletes, NFL players. Like sneak in a few financial planners, CPAs, and advisors so you can see some positive stuff for your stream too as well. But I would say stay up to date by having an advisor or CPA in your corner that would tell you about it. But also do your due diligence too as well, right? You don't have to watch the news every single day, but get some articles, listen to some podcasts. A lot of podcasts, especially when you think about the stock markets, they have 5, 10 minute morning conversations, just letting you know, hey, this is what happened with Elon Musk and Tesla or Jeff Bezos. Like they give you those updates and you can kind of see how those will impact your business. But it's kind of hard, but like you have to create and allocate time towards spending time just reading about different updates, and Google and Chat GPT, those are your best friends.
So you work with business owners, but there's a specific niche that you prefer more than others? You found work with your process. What type of business owners do you love to work with?
Yeah, I love what I love to work with mostly business owners, and the way we say it is we work with service-based professionals. So that's your independent contractors, your health professionals, your realtors, and like I said earlier, anybody who provides a service, right? Not those who have a product or a restaurant. We strictly specialize with those who provide a service-based businesses, so we can help them to kind of step in. So that's kind of our niche during tax time. Is pretty much we help out as many people as possible, regardless of your industry. But like our main bread and butter is working with those kind of the creatives and people within the service-based industries.
I like that. Very cool. Now, if somebody's listening to you and say, hey, man, I like what he's talking about. I've been having this tax issue for years. I haven't got on top of it like I want to. What is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yep, wiggscpa.com. So WIGGSCPA.com, or like I said, on social media, but literally Wiggs CPA, drop a form submission in there. Let us know what the issue is. We can set up a one-time CPA consultation. Or if you're like, hey, I heard enough, I want to look into your accounting services, we can set up an introductory call. And that introductory call won't be us giving any advice. It's more so us interviewing you and you interviewing us so we can make sure we're a good fit for each other. And then we will review your documents to make sure we can actually help you. And then we'll go from there. But the best way to reach out is just literally just reach out to us via our website. And then we can let you know how we can help, especially during tax time. You need some tax prep services. We're accepting new clients until April 1st. We're not one of those firms going to wait with you and hold your hand through. No, hey, look, if you want us to file your taxes, January through April is going to be done accurately, correctly, and that ensures that we have enough time to implement those different tax strategies and make sure we're reducing your tax bill.
I like that. You mentioned something. I can't let you go. You said a good fit. Talk about what is a good fit and how businesses should actually think about a client that's a good fit for your business, because everybody isn't for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was coughing. Can you repeat that first part of the question?
No problem. So you mentioned something. You said, I want people who are a good fit for me and I'm a good fit for them. Talk about fit for as far as a business owner, for you, and just for businesses in general.
Yeah, well, I guess you asked earlier, what's the main difference between being an employee and an employer? Well, I guess a boss or an employee. Well, one, I have my own business. I get to pick who I want to work with, right? If you work for somebody else and I worked at a tax firm, you get clients sometimes and you don't like them. Or it's like, as a business owner, I don't have to put up with your mess at times, right? If we're not on the same page, fine. Like you move on, I move on. It wasn't a good match. Let's break up type stuff, right? So for me, I'm more so along the lines of when I first started my business, I was accepting everybody. But business owner to business owner, it's like once you niche down, not only does it make your life easier because all of your clients are within the same industry. So when tax changes change, you can update them all at once. And then you're going to be a master at those tax strategies you're trying to implement because that's what you're doing on an ongoing basis. So as a business owner, it helps you save time. Now for your clients, it helps them as well because now you're getting the specialists within that industry, right? If I say I only work with real estate investors and you come to me for a real estate strategy versus your neighborhood tax preparer who does everybody's taxes, who you think you're going to get? There's a reason why you go to the hospital and you're something wrong with your knee, they send you to a specialist versus the general surgeon. Not saying they don't know their stuff, but like there's levels within it. So niching down has not only made my life easier as a business owner, but it's put me in a position to give the most value as possible to my clients. And I recommend it for everybody because if you're serving everybody, you're not serving anybody, right? Something along those lines, right? But for me, yeah, I do a whole interview process just to make sure. Because I'm gonna be honest, my goal is to provide my clients with the best services possible. So if you come to me saying, "Hey, I got 20 employees," example, 18 months into my business, Chick-fil-A, downtown Chicago called me. Little old me because I had more 5-star reviews than all the other accountants in the Chicagoland area within the first year of business, right? Got over 131 5-star reviews. So they look at me like, oh, this guy's awesome. Chick-fil-A called me. I remember telling my friend at the time, I don't want to talk to them. That one is a restaurant that's not within my niche. One, that sounds like a full-time job. Three, I can help them, but that's not something I'm not trying to designate and allocate all my time towards. So a lot of times I get a lot of larger clients coming to me and I'll tell them up front, hey, I have someone within my network that specializes in working with clients who have 20 plus clients making 20 million revenue. Like I'll happily send them over with no referral just because I understand my niche and the people I want to work with and how I want to move forward within my business. So yes, I interview clients and I want you to interview me too as well. It's mostly you talking for the first 12 minutes. And I talk for a few minutes, but got to make sure we're a great fit because I don't want to work with somebody where I'm telling you strategies or I'm trying to help you within your business and you don't want to listen, right? Or our goals don't align. So I make sure up front that everything aligns, and me understanding I only want to work with a small group of business owners has made that a lot easier because I realize my services isn't for everybody, which is perfectly fine. There's millions of people out here, you know?
Exactly. I can't let you go without touching on this. You are very active on social media. As far as posting on the schedule, you know, the folks I follow, you post more consistently than any account I've ever followed.
Yeah.
How do you think about social media? How are you leveraging that? And what are the results that you've seen thus far?
Yeah. So as mentioned, I always put this out. I am not the biggest fan of social media. Went the first 25 years of my life, aka 25 out of the last 27, with no Instagram, no Twitter, because I don't care what's going on outside of what's in my friends and family. However, exactly what you said in the beginning is that I post more than other CPAs you see, more than accounting firms. Like it's not something that's usual within our industry. So instead of saying, oh, I don't have to do it, me being me, I saw that as an opportunity. I want to teach. I want to put myself in a position to get back as much as possible. But I know my friends and family is on social media probably right now just scrolling. Let me go ahead and put some informational stuff in between and, you know, give them value too as well. So for me, I more so looked at it at first to start my business where it's like something I never wanted to do, but I saw opportunity within it. And now as a business owner and being a CPA, like I create my own platform. So now over time, I'm able to host these webinars and post these videos, and I may get a couple hundred views, I may get a few thousand, right? My page is brand new, but like there's always been a few people that reached out to me, say, hey, I learned something, or, you know, can you elaborate? And it just gives me an opportunity to give back. But from like a marketing standpoint, for me, I just try to post as much as possible. Social media is tricky. I go to a lot of events and I've been very, very, very fortunate to be with the speakers of events or the keynote speakers and with the VIP kind of backs in people that's been doing this for 5, 10, 15 years. Cause I'm always the youngest at these events because there's not really any 24, 25-year-olds leaving their corporate jobs to start their own business. So I'm asking them all the time, hey, how's your business? How are you, where you at? Like, how are you getting leads from there? And they keep saying, I post every day, every day, every day. And I was like, 20 people now going to tell me they post every day. They always ask, Darion, how much do you post? I'm like 2-3 times a week. Right? That's why you're not getting leads from it. So I picked it up more so for one, I kind of got comfortable with it. I got a system going. But for me, social media, it's part of the business. It's part of marketing yourself. I don't necessarily get a lot of leads from it. My strategy is more word of mouth, building relationships, having those 130 plus 5-star reviews, those kind of free organic ones. But social media, like I said, it's opportunity to reach more people at once. And now that I'm so deep into it, 2 years, it's something that's just gonna always be a part of my business. And I'm looking forward to growing it and expanding to more long-term videos, longer videos where I can actually go in there and speak to the youth too as well about economics, money, credit. So there's a game plan behind it. But right now, I enjoy it now, but like it was definitely a stressful in the early stages of the business. But I'm glad you see it more and more on social media.
I think you mentioned earlier about a process. It sounds like you weren't down for social media initially, but you probably developed a process. And now that you have the process, you're following it, making tweaks and improving. And I think that kind of speaks to how you work and how your business is going. It can only get better because you're doing the little things that's important. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every post from today up until April 15th is already scheduled in a sense. I just told you I shot like 20 plus videos 2 hours ago. The captions are already made. My assistant is already know what days to post, the time to post. Like I've given it thought. There's some logic behind the madness, but like you said, it comes down to systems. And I had to realize it was stressful at first shooting a few videos a week. Now my new system is let's do it all at once. Let's designate time. Like it's my third tax season out with my business. Last year I was trying to do social media, trying to do onboarding clients, trying to do tax returns, trying to have a life. Now I'm like, now that the year was over, I was like, even now, this is my third January within my business. I have a list for January for next year's January about things that I can change and make different. Because like you said, it's an ongoing process. So for me, yeah, I'm very strategic, process oriented within my business, but it's the reason why it's been able to grow so fast. And I've been thankful for my network, meeting people like yourself and just being in the position I am now. So it's like I said, it's logic behind the madness, but because of that, you asked about my goals within my business. Like it keeps growing and expanding because I'm freeing up so much time where it's like, I'm not even in a position where I'm comfortable to say, all right, I'm good now. So I'm excited to see where this goes, especially in year 3, as I like relocate to as well. That's another conversation. Just so I'm in Chicago right now, but the goal is to move somewhere in Colorado in the middle of the country, just so I can start getting clients there too as well. But most importantly, start building a brand and a network out there too as well in those relationships. So not just for business purposes, but you got real estate out there too as well. So it's a lot. It's an ongoing process, but yeah, we're still growing.
Very cool. Well, just know that Atlanta's always open for new CPAs. You gotta keep but thank you very much for joining us on another episode of Practice Prosperity. We're joined by Darion Wiggins, certified public accountant. If you want to reach out to him, his information will be in the description below. Do you have any last words?
No, that's it. I guess my last words is always invest in yourself and always believe in yourself. Y'all got this.
Awesome. You take care.
All right, man.
If you've been inspired to leverage your practice to create financial freedom, please schedule a consultation with Diesel Wealth Management. The legacy you dreamed of is a 15-minute phone call away from becoming a reality.
The more I know, the more money I can make.